Hi boys and girls, welcome back to History Lane. Here we meet some of our history's heroes through using our creative hands. Today we meet Rashi, one of the most famous Mefarshim commentators on the Torah. He made his living by selling wine, which brings us to our activity today, making grape cluster cookies with a mini edible paint palette to decorate them. Here are the supplies and ingredients we will need. Measuring spoons and cups, a mixing bowl and spoon, a rolling pin, a food-safe paintbrush, a skewer or toothpick, a knife, disposable gloves, a 2 to 3 inch round cookie cutter, a small bowl, a baking pan, parchment paper, the template printed out, and Scotch tape. We'll also need flour, sugar, oil, lemon juice, vanilla extract, 2 eggs, honey, baking powder, kosher Skittles, ready-to-roll fondant, and some water. Let's begin. Crack and check 2 eggs into a large mixing bowl. Add a 1/4 cup of oil, a 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, then stir the mixture well. Rashi, short for Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, lived from 4800 to 4865 or 1040 to 1105 CE, a big leap in time from last week's Rabbi Akiva, who lived nearly 1,000 years before Rashi. Next, mix in 2 1/4 to 2 1/2 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Add the flour in 1/2 or 1/4 cups, as the full 2 1/2 cups may not be needed. Rashi was born in France, which sounds ordinary enough, but his birth has a backstory. Rashi's father, Reb Yitzchak, was very poor, but to his fortune he once found a precious stone. Selling it would mean the end of poverty. Once the dough gets too thick to stir with a mixing spoon, put on some disposable gloves and mix it by hand until it becomes one cohesive ball. Next, lay a piece of parchment paper over the template and tape it down with a couple of pieces of Scotch tape. Then, roll out the dough to about 1/4 inch thick. Rabbi Yitzchak tried selling the stone, but the only one willing to pay its worth was the bishop. Next, cut out a circle with a round cookie cutter, then remove the dough around it. Form the circle into the shape of a paint palette by denting one side of the circle. Use a toothpick or dowel to cut out a small hole near the top, then form 5 circular dents along the edge to resemble a paint palette. However, when Rabbi Yitzchak heard the stone was intended for the bishop's tselem, his cross, he refused to sell it. Next, create a grape cookie by pulling off small pieces of dough and forming them to match the template. Form a leaf, a stem, and several grapes. Knowing the stone would likely be taken from him by force, Rabbi Yitzchak threw it into the sea. A heavenly voice proclaimed, "Because of your sacrifice you will be blessed with a son who will outshine the most precious stones, and the light of his Torah will shine forever." Place both cookies onto a baking sheet and bake for 13 minutes at 350 degrees. Meanwhile, roll out a chunk of fondant very thin, about a 1/16 inch thick. Use the round cookie cutter to cut out a circle. This piece will be used to cover the paint palette cookie. Roll out a second chunk of fondant to the same thickness as the first piece, but large enough to cover the grape cookie. Once the cookies are baked and have cooled, squeeze a few drops of honey on the paint palette cookie and gently lay the round fondant piece on top. Smooth it down to remove wrinkles. Make sure the round dents are visible, then poke out the fondant covering the small hole and cut off any excess. This special son born to Rabbi Yitzchak was Rashi. He studied in yeshivas in Germany and became a great scholar, but ultimately returned to his hometown where he was elected the Rav, the rabbi of the community. He declined to receive wages for his position and made a living instead from selling wine. He had only daughters who are thought to have been learned. His sons-in-law and grandsons, including Rabbeinu Tam and Rashbam, were well-known Torah scholars. Next, squeeze drops of honey on the second cookie and repeat the same process with the fondant. Rashi began writing commentary on the Torah when he was young, but he kept it private. After some time, he set out on a journey to find out if his commentary was useful. He was already a well-known sage, but he chose to go incognito. Upon arriving in different Jewish communities, he observed what people were studying and struggling to understand. When no one was around, he would slip papers with his pirush, his commentary, into the sefer, the book of the person learning. Next, select 5 different colored Skittles, use a food-safe paintbrush to drip a small amount of water in each dent of the paint palette cookie, then fill each one with a different colored Skittle. People's responses were enthusiastic, prompting Rashi to continue writing his pirushim. And now for the fun part, paint the cluster of grapes using the Skittles as paint. Eventually, someone caught Rashi secretly planting one of his papers in a sefer, and the word got out that the author of these mysterious slips were none other than Rashi. This story shows that Rashi had no personal agenda. He was focused only on making sure that people of all levels could understand the Torah more clearly. Similarly, if we know a lot about a topic, rather than boast about what we know, we can concentrate on helping others understand more. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hope to see you back again next week.